Welcome to the Talking Blondes. We are so happy to have you with us today. My name is Caitlin, and I'm coming to you from the Midwest. But wherever you are, I'm just happy you're here and you're with us, and hope you're having a wonderful day. And I am joined by my beautiful, lovely, amazing, wonderful, not enough words for her, co-host Virginia. Hey, girl.
Oh, why, thank you. Hey, girl. Hey. Yes, so happy to be back on Talking Blondes, and I am coming to you from the Pacific Northwest, and I hope you are all having a wonderful day so far.
Woo woo. It's Monday today. This will be coming out on a Wednesday, but it's Monday for us. I feel like we're in pretty decent spirits for a Monday, actually,
Yeah,
which, it's that's saying a lot. So hope hope
yes,
hope we stay that way. I mean, it is Monday evening, so we've got like the worst behind us, I guess. But
true.
well, on top of that, speaking of, all the good things,
Hmm.
Virginia is coming to us with kind of some fun news. If you listened to our last episode, you may have caught that we had a little bit of a teaser at the end for some fun stuff coming up around the corner. And I don't know, Virginia, you wanna share? You wanna share what you've got up your sleeve?
Okay, y'all. This was a milestone for Talking Blondes. We were featured on a local podcast here in North Idaho. This was so cool, you guys. Like, so great. It's with a place called Envision Center News, and they are based out of Sandpoint here in Idaho. So for those who are more familiar with the North Idaho area, they are based out of Sandpoint, and they're just all about community, nonprofit, mental health services, people who just contribute to society and want to be part of a community. So Talking Blondes was looked to be a featured guest, where we got to talk about Caitlin and I and how Talking Blondes was born, and got to talk about my coaching, and it was just a wonderful, positive experience. So that episode is available to listen to, available on Spotify and YouTube. And if you guys are interested in checking it out, it would mean a lot to us.
Totally. And you know what? Let's link to it in our show notes, actually, too. We shared a story on our Instagram, well, today, which for you guys will be 2 days ago. But time is weird when you record early and you
Yeah.
host a podcast, so bear with us. But yeah, that'd be great if we could share that link. And I just gotta give a shout out to our girl Virginia. There were some technical difficulties. I was unable to partake in this. I very much
Yeah.
wanted to. I was pumped. But long story short, our girl killed it. So, wonderful job. You were awesome at just kind of representing the podcast and what you do, and just like your whole journey into becoming a life coach and all the things. So, big props to you. And big props to Connie, who you chatted with on the podcast.
Yeah.
She was awesome. So definitely don't miss it, guys. It's worth the listen. Or watch if you want to check it out on YouTube. You can do
Mhm.
that too. So don't miss it.
Thanks,
Um,
Blondie.
of course, Blondie. All right. Well, definitely check that out. Without further ado, though, let's just dive into the episode. So, in true Talking Blondes style, we kick things off with a quote or two. If you're me, it's normally two because I can never decide, and for me, it's the more the merrier. So, the first quote that we're going to cover today comes from a beloved novel that many millennials listening, and maybe some Gen Zers actually, would know. And it comes from the novel The Perks of Being a Wallflower, also a book, or I'm sorry, also a movie. Fantastic movie and fantastic book, of course. But that quote is, "We accept the love we think we deserve." So that quote has always resonated with me. I mean, it could be really deeply looked into for a number of reasons, but pretty powerful quote that I think will help us kick off our topic here. Second quote that I could not ignore and wanted to include comes from Canadian poet Rupi Kaur. She's written, and I apologize if I mispronounced her name. She has written poetry books like Milk and Honey and The Sun and Her Flowers. Wonderful, wonderful thoughts that have gone into her very artistic and beautiful words. This quote from her is, how you love yourself is how you teach others to love you. So those are our quotes. Words, words are really big here. That's what we've got for you. Um, and without further ado, going into diving deeper here, our topic for today's episode is how to fall in love with yourself. We spend so much time and energy feeling like we need to find the loves of our lives. Many of us have families, many of us have kids, many of us have, um, you know, uh, parents, siblings, this and that, friends who have become family, who we depend upon us, all of the things. And those are all beautiful forms of love. And those are all sacred. We hold those very dear. However, especially as women, I think the idea of self love and what that looks like and achieving just that in general, I think kind of has fallen by the wayside throughout history, right? I mean, think about women even hundreds of years ago. It was like you are to learn how to cook, you're to learn how to clean, you're to learn how to be a good wife, have the kids, and that's your role and that's it. And it's not like, yeah, but how do I invest in myself? And what about things that make me whole in order to show up for the other people in my life? So we'll get into all of those things. Throughout this episode, we're going to talk about what self-love is, what it's not. Sometimes we have some misconceptions, I think, in society as to what it looks like, and we might be wrong a little bit sometimes. Sorry, guys. We're also going to talk about, um, how do you actually start practicing self-love? I think there's a lot of very beautiful, don't get me wrong, but very beautiful, not necessarily helpful, pieces of advice out there. Like, oh, just be kind to yourself. Oh, just, listen to what your gut's telling you. And, you have to go with that more, things like that. And that's great. But myself, and Virginia knows this about me, I am one who needs action. I'm one who needs homework when I'm learning about how to make my life better or how to really dive into my own mental health. And so we've got some pretty feasible little activities for anyone listening who's looking to really grow in self-love. We've got some homework for you to take into consideration, maybe work on this week, maybe work on just sometime throughout the year, whatever works for you. But we've got some good stuff for you here, folks. So buckle up. Miss Virginia, you are in the hot seat.
The
Get ready,
love.
girl. Yes, get ready. I will just kick it off with a question for you, all right? So here we go. For you personally, what has your journey been like with self-love? And what is self-love to you now in your 30s?
Great kickoff question. I think self-love to me, without maybe the full understanding of it and what it actually takes to love yourself in a healthy, way and a healthy healing way. Um, it's great to have standards for yourself. I think that's actually a form of self-love for sure. I take it though a little bit further than that because standards sometimes though can either be fear-based or they can be love-based. So I had standards, but they were fear-based. So they kept me very disconnected and isolated because of, as I've talked about openly in our early episodes, vulnerability, perfectionism, those are also acts of self-love, to be authentic and to be vulnerable. And, if you are afraid of those things or you feel shame because of them, again, you can still hold standards for yourself and for a potential partner or friendship or relationships like that. But they might not be as fulfilling and they may not bring as much joy. I was also under the false pretense that a relationship was supposed to give you all of that.
Mm,
And so, bless my husband for me being very naive and thinking, you are supposed to complete me. And even though our relationships definitely have a huge impact on our overall well-being, I have come to discover later, in my 30s and well into my marriage and my personal relationships, that even though that is so true, that our loved ones have an impact on our well-being, it's still on me. I am with me every day.
yeah.
I'm not with my husband every day. I'm not even with my kids every day. And I know we'll get more into that later in this episode, but we, as well, especially women, learning to reconnect with ourselves from a place of self love is a great journey to go on. So, yeah, it's going from my 20s, like I knew of self love, but my my standards of myself and others were very fear based. And so when I started to really heal those things in my life, and I feel like attracting more positive, loving, deep relationships, I
Hmm.
feel like my self love is very whole and grounded and balanced.
Beautiful. For anyone who, is listening or watching and maybe hasn't caught some of our earlier episodes,
Mhm.
and you don't have to go into it too much into detail, but do you mind just sharing a little bit about that fear based, just in case it might connect with them and maybe, it might kind of get the gears turning in their minds? I think that would be great if you don't mind sharing
Sure.
a little.
Yeah. From being afraid to be vulnerable, which means to be really seen, operating from, perfectionism and people pleasing, that's all a mask. So, sure, again, that's where those standards can come from, right? But if it's more performative, we are not going to get um, deeper within ourselves to get to that place of self love. So that can definitely manifest in our personal relationships.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and it can, even though you could be with the right person, so partner, a friend, like you love these people, you adore them, and they bring, other values to the relationship. But if you feel like these things like have a hold on you and are keeping you from really, really going deep, with yourself, then you might find yourself always like just skating by surface level.
Yeah.
And that might make for not as fulfilling relationships. Even though you could desire it, you can crave it, but if it's more scary to you to not open up in that way, then I would definitely look into healing healing those things, so that you can give yourself a chance to not only be in happy, healthier relationships with other people, but with yourself.
Definitely. Which life coaching can help out with. I'm just saying. And we've got a life coach right here, folks. So, shameless plug. I can't help it.
Shameless plug. I
Shameless
love
plug.
it.
All right. Well, wonderful. I think that's a great way to get us, going here. I have one more point slash question based on what you said because I think you called it out very well. When you were talking about, thinking that, oh, once you find the right partner, husband, you will be completed. They will complete you. And I have a mixed take on this because I don't think
Hmm.
it's all black and white. I think that we need to reframe and perhaps change it up a little bit as to how we define, um, someone completing you. I think there's a part of you that wants partnership, and a partner can complete that portion of your life.
Hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing. You have totally found that person. But to your point, they don't complete your whole world. And that is something that I think you have beautifully, just from your own experience, that I'm aware of, things you've shared in our episodes, you have very beautifully, faced full on. Like, okay, I know something's off here. Virginia years back, what do I do about it? And so anyone listening who's thinking, yeah, but the person I'm with is, wonderful and this and that, and and that's great. They in my opinion, they can certainly complete that part of your life that wants that and craves that, partnership and romantic love and everything. But there's also much more to your life. And that's a big part of what this episode is about. And that doesn't mean that that person cannot accentuate the happiness that you have. They very much can. And when you feel that, it's a beautiful thing. One more question for right now, and I think this is something that a lot of us struggle with, whether you're in your, you know, early 20s. It honestly kind of goes across the board, especially for women. And I wanted us to kind of chat about it a little bit here. And that is, how do we separate ourselves from, or our self worth, I guess I should say, from being solely attached and defined by our relationships, not just romantic, but also family. I'm sure there's women who have maybe small children or older children listening, and I'm not a mom. I'm not going to pretend to understand. I would love to be one day, but Virginia's a mom, and on top of that, just having siblings, having parents who might rely on you, especially as they're aging, things like that. I know that's a really heavy question. I know it can't be answered in a sentence or two, but what thoughts do you have on that, Virginia?
Well, what first comes to mind, as far as self-worth goes, is the inner work and healing so that you can come from a more place of wholeness and security. So you
Yeah.
don't lose yourself in these relationships, because the hard truth to these loving relationships is they are temporary and they do have their seasons. They are
Mm,
not this one permanent state that is with your spouse
mm-hmm.
and with your kids, your friends. So when you dig really deep in yourself to feel more whole within yourself and more secure, it's not that all of a sudden you're just, you know, um, these relationships are beneath you or something, or that you can do without. It's really because as they go through their changes, you're able to be steady.
Beautifully said. Yeah.
And I've noticed that actually with my own personal relationships, whether it be my spouse, my kids, my friends, like, yes, I love our time together and quality time, and it certainly makes a difference. But like, the reality is they all go about their lives,
Mm-hmm.
because you also want that for your loved ones. You don't want
Definitely.
them to be fully dependent on you, for you to be their only source of happiness. You want that for themselves. So, to operate from a place of self worth, you are actually okay with them being happy and fulfilled without you being totally present in their lives every second of the day. And that could be premature advice depending on the stage of life you're in. That could be very much needed advice depending on the season of life you're in. But it's more, I think, of this overall view of life, and hopefully it doesn't sound as harsh as maybe it can be for some. Hopefully it's a little bit more wise is what I'm hoping for people to get out of this, because yeah, it's kind of crazy how, one season it's like this with somebody, then it completely changes.
Yes.
And you might find yourself going, but wait, it was like this not too long ago, and now we're here. And you go into panic mode and like, stress mode, or like thinking like, well, then it's all different now. And, and it's okay to, we're human, we're not robots. So it's okay to like process those emotions and everything. But if it's what keeps you stuck and keeps you from not evolving in these relationships,
Yes.
then that might be something worth looking into.
Love it. Here for it. Love it. Yes, and I think just to add to that too, to your point, we ourselves as individuals are the only constants we will have in our lives from beginning to end. Not to get too, not to make it depressing by any means. I think once you celebrate that, that's
Mm-hmm.
when everything changes.
Yes.
Once you find a way to really actively celebrate that throughout your life. And it doesn't mean that the other loves in your life are any less meaningful by any means.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that it almost, what's the word? I think it can enhance the way you show up for them, and it enhances the way you show up for yourself. So
Very much so.
wonderful, girl. All right. Well, so I think you also pretty hit it spot on with what self love is. Um, in my personal research over here, I'll tell you what it's not. So, self love is not just having confidence, and it's not constant positivity, which we've talked about before, how that can show up in toxic ways. If you think, oh, I just need to be happy all the time and grateful all the time, and this, that, the other, it can be that now and then. But real self love, everybody, is things like keeping promises to yourself, setting boundaries without guilt, okay? Having that protection for yourself of your time, of your feelings, of your health, all of those things. Being honest about what you need. That can be really scary. A lot of us struggle with vulnerability. A lot of us struggle with having hard conversations that might feel confrontational. If any recovering people pleasers out there, and we've talked about that in previous episodes, that can be tough. So you're not alone if you hear that and you're like, oof. Or even just being honest with yourself about what you need. Maybe you've been denying the, maybe your conscience, or there's something just deep within you that is nagging at you like, this isn't it, what I've got right now, this is not enough for me. And really doing some soul searching and being honest with yourself first. And self-love is also showing yourself respect even on your hard days. So something that I often think about, and I've talked about this with friends of mine in the past, we think of love, and many of us think of, how beautiful it can be, and often, and it is, it's a beautiful thing. But we often really think about the happy times, because it's really easy, right, to be grateful, express affection towards, family, friends, partners, this, that, whatever, when things are going well. But the true test of love, self love, all forms of love, comes when things are difficult, or when life throws maybe a bad day your way, maybe a challenging season your way. And so those are the days or the seasons where you need to show yourself respect and you need to care for yourself, just as you would on the good days. So take that into consideration. Easier said than done, but we're going to talk about some ways to start practicing these things here in a little bit. Something else I want to cover too, Virginia, is self love versus self esteem. Because I said earlier, self love isn't necessarily just having, a healthy confidence level, or maybe confidence that's through the roof. We don't necessarily want to go that route. So, how do these two compare, self love and self esteem? So, do you want to take a stab at it, Virginia? You want to see what you think it might be? I'm really putting you in the hot seat today, aren't I?
Um, well, I do think the two can go hand in hand. Yes.
Yes, they absolutely can. Absolutely, they're not related. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because my self-esteem really boosted when it came from a place of self-love. Self-esteem was a real struggle for me to get to for the longest time. So I had really low self-esteem. Um, so when I really was working on all the things I mentioned earlier and the healing and all that, that self-love is really what boosted my self-esteem in still what I feel like is a healthy, grounded way.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And thank you for being vulnerable and talking about just even if it's high level, no matter what you share with anybody listening in these episodes, I think it really really hits, and just your struggles maybe with self esteem and your journey with all this. So
Thank
you're spot
you.
on also when you say that they are connected. So
Hmm.
self esteem comes with how you evaluate yourself. Okay. Self love is how you treat yourself regardless of the evaluation.
Yeah.
So you might maybe not be feeling too great about yourself, and we can't really control our feelings. Let's be honest. It's you're feeling down, okay, great. You might just not feel so great about yourself today. But the love part comes in when you say, all right, I don't feel maybe as great about myself in this moment, but I'm still going to give myself respect and I'm still going to show up with compassion. So they both very much can be related, but it's just a matter of even when the self esteem might be a little off, how you're going to show up with that self love. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, before we get into our homework, as I like to think of it, of things that people can take on and everything, I also want to just share a couple hard truths that people maybe don't want to hear about self-love, but need to, right? Like, no one wants to hear anything other than, just do what makes you happy. Like, love yourself, girl. Like, you wanna just eat all that fast food all day. You wanna stay in bed all day. Like, love yourself. You do you, whatever. Granted, we all have days, we all have moments, right? Like, I'm not knocking it if you need a little special something, but we're not looking to do this long term. Okay, so we're gonna clear that up right now. If that's how we're thinking of self love, anybody listening, that's not sustainable. You are going to be hurting yourself much more than you are ever going to be loving yourself when you do things like that. Not shaming you, just telling you the hard truth as any big sister would. So just telling it like it is. So self-love is not just do what makes you happy. Instead, self-love actually can often require self-discipline. And it can be a number of things, but it can be reminding yourself of the boundaries you've set for yourself. It can be reminding yourself not to people please when you catch yourself. It can be reminding yourself to speak kinder of yourself. It can be reminding yourself, you know what? That person that has been in my life for a really long time, we actually have a very toxic connection. And this is maybe not serving me. And I need to, rather than fall back into the pattern of doing what I would normally do and, be around them or whatever, I need to have the discipline of maybe taking some space and evaluating that friendship or relationship or whatever it may be. So, just a few examples for you. Virginia, what are your thoughts on that? Do you have any, just, any feedback from the life coach?
Yeah, the first thing I'm definitely thinking of is creating a secure attachment with yourself.
Bingo. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
'Cause when you were touching on, the relationship that's been your life for a while, but it's just not quite serving, a healthy purpose, and maybe you just feel like you're spinning in circles. Yes, discipline for sure, boundaries, healthy boundaries, but the work is so much deep rooted than that. You might have to even search within yourself as to why you have this attachment to this person to begin with. And
Yeah.
I know it can be a wild ride, but usually it stems from our upbringing. And so you can do the work on that. And as I mentioned earlier, be whole and secure with yourself. These attachments, these relationships, they're not easy, but maybe they're not as painful to let go because your standards get higher and they're love based. So you can actually do without to
Mm.
make space, to make room for what's actually going to contribute to your life, elevate your life, enhance your life. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much healing that can be done to really open your eyes into a world of self-love possibilities. So I totally agree. All right, girl. So let's really get into the thick of it. Why we're here. Um, we wouldn't be having this topic, I should say, for an episode, if self love weren't so damn difficult to feel and to practice and to, find in our lives. So, why the heck is practicing self love so hard? Well, again, it's not a women only thing, but because we're women and we're kind of experts in being women because it's all we've known, right? I'm just gonna say what we all have known for years as a society, that women are socially conditioned to prioritize pretty much everybody else above themselves. Now, granted, I'm not trying to generalize this. I know there are many wonderful, beautiful ladies out there who maybe have healed from this, or maybe you had an amazing upbringing and your parents were like, Psh, no, girl, you're gonna really learn how to prioritize yourself and your needs so that you can show up for other people. But just as a whole, that is a huge, huge part of our culture, I believe. On top of that, we also live in a culture that is plagued with comparison syndrome. We go on social media, we see all these Instagram selfies, we see these bodies that are probably not even actual representations of the people in the pictures, right? How many people have done, Photoshop and this filter and all these other things behind the scenes, but impressionable women, we're looking at them thinking, gosh, why can't I look like that? What's wrong with me? I better just not eat today, or I better do this, or I better do that. And that can be super, super impactful. We're also seeing individuals who are maybe farther along in life than we are. Maybe they have things that we thought we'd have at a certain age. And, again, that's where the comparison comes in. And it maybe doesn't mean that we wish ill upon those. Doesn't mean we don't love those people. But I think there's something to be said about seeing others who might be having what you want and thinking, well, if I had that, I'd be happy, or if I had that, I'd be worthy, or I'm not ever worthy enough to get that. I don't deserve that at this point, because if I did, I'd already have it. Just a number of things, and I think most, if not all of us, have internalized a lot of criticism from, maybe painful experiences, whether it's our upbringings, whether it's, formative years being in school. We've all got, our survival stories, whether it's middle school, high school, what have you, past relationships, heavy traumatic experiences we may have been through. The list goes on. And as happens in life, all of these things play a major tribute and impact into what makes us, how we treat ourselves, how we view ourselves. And so, listen, ladies, I'm calling you out. If you are hearing this and any of this resonates, which, to be honest, it probably does, because I think we are all people who have at least some of this in common. Or just in general, if you feel like you're riding the struggle bus when it comes to self-love, it's okay. I used to kind of beat myself up over just feeling, why don't I care? Why don't I love myself enough? Why can't I just get there? Why can't I just and it's a process, right? But I think first off, you need to recognize that one, this is nothing to beat yourself up over. You're only going to make it worse. You're gonna be part of the problem, and not to put you down for not having self love, but you're only gonna be making it harder on yourself. Um, be kind to yourself, but on top of that, don't look at struggling with self love as a personal failure. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing weird or broken about you. That's not how this works. Something else that might help you flip the switch here with this, and it helped me, because, again, I've struggled with this over the years, is don't think of self love as a destination. I myself, and Virginia, maybe you can relate, I'm not sure, in this particular way. I myself used to think, well, you either love yourself or you kind of hate yourself. Like, there's no in between. And I used to think that, oh, it's basically okay, do these things and then boom, you're gonna feel the self love and you're gonna be good. And guess what, Buttercup? That is not how it works. It is like so many other things in the mental health world. It is a journey, and it is, I don't think it's anything that you just, okay, great, level complete, you're done, game over, you've won. Like, it is a constant thing that ebbs and flows. And so you also may have days where you are just really doing great with self love, and you may have days or moments where you're not. And that doesn't mean, oh, all this work I've done is for nothing. No, that just means you're human, and that's okay. Virginia, I see you nodding. What's going on in your brain over there? You want to weigh in?
Yeah. It's making me think that in our other episodes, when we talked about gratitude, positive thinking, healing patterns of perfectionism, people pleasing, being more vulnerable, those are all conscious daily practices. So
Absolutely.
it is a practice.
Absolutely. It's not linear. I think we like to say that a lot in mental health stuff, but it's very true. This is not linear. Anything that requires growth is going to be something that takes practice, and that's
Hmm.
okay.
Yep.
So we are going to cover the time has come we are going to cover. Anybody watching knows I'm doing a little weird excitement thing with my hands, but the time has come to actually talk about ways to start practicing self-love, some tools and some again homework. I like to throw that word out there, but it should be fun homework, not necessarily like the awful stuff you maybe did in college or high school, but should be kind of fun. Things you can actually implement in your daily life to further along your journey with self-love. Notice I didn't say destination. You're not just going to get there overnight. And you may never fully get there because I don't think you're meant to. I think life in general is meant to have seasons. It's meant to have things that we cannot fully just prepare for, heal for, all of the things. That's just not how it works. But hopefully with these things that we're going to cover, you can really start leaning into the world of self-love or just enhancing. Maybe you already have a pretty healthy level of that, and maybe this will just help enhance it. So we've got four little things you can do here. So the first of the four is make and keep small commitments. So sounds pretty simple, but I'm going to get into it more. So here's why this works. So it works because when you take part in this, it helps you build trust in yourself. So this can even get into goal setting, which we've talked about in previous episodes. Virginia has got so much great info on that. If you go back into several episodes back of ours, highly recommend that if you haven't checked it out already. It's filled with great info. But how do we actually apply this, right? So it's great to hear that praise, but what are you actually going to do? So think of something, anyone listening, think of something you've been wanting to do, but you've been putting off lately, right? Plan ahead. Maybe you love to plan like me, or maybe you're not a planner at all. Well, this is your time. This is your sign to do it. Pick a date, pick a time. Tell yourself, I'm going to do this, okay? Block off your calendar if you need to, whatever you need to do. Pick out your outfit ahead of time. If you're like me and you're gonna do a workout the next day, but you're like, I need an outfit. I need something to show me I am not going to not do this. I'm gonna make this happen. This can be something small, but make sure it's something good for you, right? Like it can be something like, hey, after work tomorrow, it's going to be really nice. I haven't been to the park in forever. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go for a half-hour walk. Something little like that. Something that, one, is good for you, two, brings you joy, and three, in this case at least, it's something where you are connecting with yourself. You're getting some you time. Wonderful. We highly recommend, especially when it comes to self-love, finding that solitude can be a beautiful thing. And you have to be
Yeah.
comfortable with yourself before you can be fully comfortable with anybody else. I'll just say that.
Comfortable is the key word there.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think of our adult friendship episode. We talked about the importance of actually, well, being your own friend,
Yes.
but like essentially dating yourself.
Yes, girl.
Y'all, I've taken myself on the best solo dates because I know me better than me
Right?
and what fills my cup up and what makes me happy. I so look forward to those. You would think like, and don't get me wrong, like of course I look forward to a date with my husband or, a date with a girlfriend and all that, but again, like they all have their own things too. So like, what if I were to just be waiting around, dependent on them to fill my cup up? They don't meet my expectations. More than likely, expectations I did not communicate.
Preach.
I'm just like, you should know. And then I built up resentment, and
Mm-hmm.
that projects onto the relationship.
Bingo. Bingo. Absolutely.
Meanwhile, I could have just taken care of my own needs.
Right? Right?
And here's the bonus, y'all. That energy goes back to your loved ones.
Mm.
Is
Snaps.
that not a great gift or what?
Love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't know, I'm like, I love going to the movies by myself. I know it's weird. I will get myself a little popcorn. I'll get,
I love
I'll sneak in some M&Ms, don't tell, I mean, I'm like, listen, I don't do this often, but I'm gonna treat myself. I'm gonna have a little Kate date, right, right?
that.
A little cake date. But
I
honestly,
love
it can show up in a number of ways, and I'm so glad you
Yeah.
brought that up, Virginia. Date yourself. Make a little plan to take yourself on a little solo, some little activity for the day. Go out, whatever. Doesn't have to be going out, but it can be something that brings you joy, and is good for you. On the flip
And that
side,
would, sorry,
no,
just
you're
one
you're
more.
fine.
That would boost your self-esteem too,
Big time, big
right?
time.
So if
Yes,
you start to do these things that maybe kind of push you out of your comfort zone, like what? I can't go to a movie by myself and be that weirdo. Or
right.
I can't like go to the cafe or restaurant and just order something by myself.
Yes.
And you can. And typically I try to like structure it around like, maybe it's just one outing, right? And then you're done. You get to go back home, you did your thing, but like, maybe start off with that, that walk on your own. Like,
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
build that up to actually going to your favorite coffee shop, but instead of just going through the drive-through or just walking in to pick up your item and then leaving, actually stay, but like have a plan. Maybe
Right.
have like a book with you or maybe your laptop and do some quote unquote work or whatever. But
Yes.
like these are like the conservative ways to go about doing something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say pro tip for sure, bring a book. Even if you don't open it or you're just pretend reading until maybe you want to talk to somebody next to you, but you're just trying to work up the courage. Whatever, girl. There's so many ways around this, and that's okay. Like there are no rules. And if you
I'm
think
so glad you
people,
said that.
yeah,
There are no rules. Like we make all this crazy stuff up. There are no rules.
and if you think people are judging you, I'm gonna share a little secret with you. No one is paying as much attention to you, and I don't mean this in a harsh way because I'm sure you look beautiful. I'm sure you look all, you're all cute. Like, I got you, girl. I see you. But people think way more about how they look in public, how they are being interpreted and viewed, than they think about how you are. I'm telling you this. Once I really had this click in my brain, my life became so much more fun.
Mm, I
so
love
many
that.
more, so many more things just kind of opened up for me. So, pro tip.
That also made me think of what are your intentions
Yes.
with doing X, Y, and Z. So, like,
Yes.
if your intention, let's say you are single, because we have our single girlies out there, and they're like, I'm gonna go out so I can find me a cute man, and or just like really show off this outfit. Cool. That will only go so far though.
Fair.
If your
Fair.
intention, if your intentions are a little bit deeper than that, where it's like, you know what, I've never really done this before. I've always had a friend with me, or I've always had my partner with me.
Hmm.
But I love that place and they're not always available. And it's been months since I've been to it. I'm just going to go and I'm going to order a little treat
Yeah.
and stay. You don't have to stay for long. You want to be in and out of there in 20, 30 minutes, by all means. But your intentions with it, because if you are really like, well, I really would love to just go get that, matcha or my favorite croissant from that place. And you're like, oh, but I don't have anyone to go with. Okay, fine. I'll just do it myself. And before you know it, you kind of yeah, you build up this self-esteem, but like this capability that you are capable of doing these things, that you are capable in filling your own cup and bringing joy and fun into your life. And that also creates autonomy for oneself.
Absolutely.
And that can also be an act of self love.
Yeah. Well, and back to why this action in particular works. With that autonomy, you are building trust within yourself. which huge,
Huge.
big time. So good call out, girl. Good call out. On the flip side, let's say, and this is still about making and keeping small commitments. Let's say you are the queen of canceling plans with friends. Okay, understand. I've been there. I'm sure a lot of people listening have been there. Not hating on you. I get it. There is often a weird thrill that comes with someone canceling plans on you. Oh, it's all right. I'll just stay home and watch Netflix. I get it. I get it. However, we thrive on community. We were made to be around our core people. That is, I'm telling you, I know it's so easy to just scroll on the apps or binge watch a show or whatever, but like we need our people. And so I'm challenging you for your homework if this is you. Maybe you have plans coming up this weekend, or maybe it's time to be the friend that sets out to make plans with others. Um, Follow through. Don't cancel. If you need to reward yourself after going to get coffee or brunch or whatever the thing might be, fine. Like if that's what it's gonna take, I get it. But I'm telling you, keep that coffee date, show up. Or maybe it's something even bigger than that, right? Maybe you're in a place in your life where there's something that you have been dreaming of doing for years. Maybe it's this trip you've talked about that you've just never pulled the plug on taking. Maybe it's a big career move, which is scary, right? Like that's not easy. And I'm not telling you, oh, quit your job tomorrow. I'm not saying that, but think about this. Think about the things that really mean something to you that you've just been wanting to do. Every day that passes, a big part of you is letting yourself down by not taking action on that. And that's not to say, oh, well, of course, other things in life play into this that might prevent you from doing it in seasons of life, whatever. I'm not saying that. That's also a factor. But girl, it might be that time to book that trip to Europe. It might be that time to, even even take that road trip, to I don't know, a few hours over that you've just been putting off, whatever it might be. So those are just some examples of how to make and keep commitments to yourself. And I had small in my notes, but they can also be big. And it may just be that you start small and then you go from there and gets bigger. That might just be the best practice, especially if you're just trying this out and you haven't done things like this in a while. That's definitely great to start small and give yourself grace. So that's one. Let's move on to number dos, shall we? Numero dos. So two is identify and interrupt negative self-talk patterns. So I did kind of talk about this really briefly a bit ago in our episode, but here's why this works. We are talking reframing, baby, okay? The Talking Blondes here, we love ourselves a good reframe. Even just in normal life, Virginia and I will be texting, and she is the best at this. She'll be like, well, what if you look at it as da 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 da? And I'm like, this is another reason why we are such good friends, because yes. So let's talk about how you're going to reframe with yourself, everybody listening. So first off, words matter, especially the words and the thoughts that you put into the universe about yourself. Okay? So whether this is on a conscious or a subconscious level, doing this really hits and it will make all the difference. It might not be immediate, but over time, this can truly, truly play a big role in enhancing self-love for yourself. I feel this to my core. What we think becomes what we say. What we say dictates our reality. And it can be something small from, the weather sucks. I'm going to have a really crappy time today. Like I can just tell. All my plans got canceled. I was going to go to a baseball game. It got rained out. I can't go. It's like whatever. Or Well, it was raining out, and okay, plot twist. I'm gonna go see that movie with my girlfriends that I've been wanting to see, or I'm gonna I'm gonna read that book I just got that I've been putting off, or I don't know. I mean, there's a number of ways to reframe. Now, granted, those examples are more about changes in, your plans. But when it comes to this, how can you practice reframing negative self talk patterns towards yourself? Well, here's how you can try it. So, this type of stuff takes practice, guys. This is not oh, I did this once, or, oh, I did it and it felt supernatural. It's not going to, especially if, you have a lot of negative thoughts or are just natural in speaking negatively about yourself. And I'm not shaming you for doing this. It's okay. There are millions of people who, I think often in society too, we are almost looked down upon, sadly, if we speak positively about ourselves. I think we confuse humility with being self-deprecating and being, or vice versa. In other words, it's like, oh, she's way too cocky, or hello, arrogant, and sure, arrogance exists. That's a whole thing. We're not talking about that in this episode. We're talking about doing things and saying things like, instead of saying, I'm such a failure, saying, I'm trying my best and I'm proud of myself on even the hard days. I am a strong person and I deserve compassion even on the difficult days. Things like that. That's what we're talking about. So how do you actually do this? So there's many ways to go about it. One that came to my mind because I like to write. Any girlies out there who keep a journal or just like to jot stuff down periodically, whatever it might be, a good place to start is during maybe a journal entry. Give yourself grace when you do this. And it may take writing your thoughts down on paper about yourself in order to really even recognize that you have a lot of negative things to say, negative self talk. But I want you to write down maybe how you're feeling on a random day, what you think about yourself on a random day, whatever it might be. Then I want you to go back and I want you to look at it as if you are a stranger. You're someone who doesn't even know this person and you're reading it. And I want you to catch the things that you've written down. Then I want you to scratch those out and I want you to rewrite those. Just like I said, maybe you've written something like, I'm never going to get to where I want to be in life. And instead, I want you to write something like, I'm worthy of achieving my dreams. The time frame may be different, but that doesn't mean they're not going to happen. I know that's maybe a little more of a profound thing than you might be writing, but I'm just throwing out examples here. And it may even be that you catch yourself before you've even finished writing the thing. And if so, that's cool. It just depends on kind of where your mindset is and how comfortable you are with doing this. It's gonna feel weird. That's okay. If it was easy, you probably wouldn't be needing to be told to do it in the first place. Or it probably wouldn't be something that, self-love might not be a topic that you would feel like you want to work on because you'd be having these thoughts already, or you wouldn't even need these thoughts because it would just be something that organically is coming out from you, if that makes sense. So another example of this, and this might sound a little different, but the next time you're out with your girlfriends or your partner or your family, whomever it might be, I want you to pay attention to how you talk about yourself. Now, obviously, be present, try to be in the moment. But when your friends ask you how you're doing, or they ask you, about different things going on in your life, or whatever it might be, I want you to really have feelers out for negative, self-deprecating phrases that come out. And to be fair, self-deprecating humor, like it can be funny, right? I'm not knocking it. Like it's got its place in time. I'm here for it in moments. But if you just find yourself saying things like, "Oh, I could never do, what you're doing with work. I would just be drowning," or "Oh, I could never be, I could never look as nice as you," or whatever it might be, or "Oh, me just in my sweatpants, like, oh," things like that. Like, and I get it, humility again, that's great. But maybe we don't, right? To be totally blunt, maybe we don't. Maybe you catch yourself as you start saying it, or maybe you think about it later. That's okay too. Don't beat yourself up for saying it. The point is, pay attention. Be be present. Be present with your friends, but also be present as to the you that's showing up. Try to really absorb that and think about that. Um, any thoughts, girl? I see you nodding.
Yeah, I was thinking of people who tend to do that are seeking attention, whether
Yes,
they are aware of it or not. Um, for those who can sense that, you do not have to engage in it,
fair.
and because that can, and because again, the person who's doing that, they're kind of looking to drag you down with them,
Mm, yeah,
and that might be a personal emotional boundary where you're like, I'm not gonna participate in that. So I'm not gonna engage in it. We've done this before.
mm-hmm.
Um, so as far as I'm concerned, can move on in the
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
And I think people, again, because that comes from a very insecure, more than likely anxious place, it is not that person's job to complete you in that way and to make you feel secure with yourself. They don't certainly have to degrade you and make things worse. That's not right either. But I'm just thinking of all the times, like, that's such an energy drain
big time.
on people. So again, this is not to say if you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh, I think I do that." I'm not saying like, and that's who you are. You are just an energy drain and you suck the energy right out of the
Of
relationship.
course,
I'm just saying like when you do this kind of inner work, you become more self-aware.
absolutely.
So if you do find yourself where you're like, "Oh, that was that was silly of me to say that. Just ignore it. I'm ignoring it. That was silly. I'm not even sure why I said it."
Mm-hmm.
And then your believe it or not, your friend or your partner or whoever, they'll actually like be like, "Oh, you're emotionally safe. I
Mm-hmm.
can actually talk be more open with you." Like think about that for a minute.
Yeah,
Like when you are operating from that kind of frequency, which is very low vibrations, um, you're not emotionally safe for people, for your loved ones,
and I
and
think
within yourself, because you feel so on edge and insecure and anxious. So it just kind of made me think like, it is so easy to do that because more than likely that was probably part of your upbringing. Um, and that inner critic who's really, really strong and is still present. And I understand that. I go through that too from time to time. But this is why I love the reframe where anytime I'm doing something challenging and stepping on my comfort zone, like my critic, I'll be like, "I'm sorry, have you ever done this before?" "No,
mm-hmm.
I didn't think so." So it
Right.
must be really easy for you to be on the sideline judging me and criticizing me. You're not in it. You're not in it like I am.
Yeah.
So unless you've got something helpful and useful to say, I'm silencing you.
Right. Right.
And, but if your critic is more of a constructive and can call you out in a way where, it's like, hey, maybe reel that back in and, refine a little bit of that. It's like, okay, I can do that. Like, that's a growth mindset, right? Because you're not coming from this place of ego where you're like, I don't need to do any of that because what I'm already doing is good enough and fine. And it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then there probably wouldn't be these internal struggles going on and struggles in your external relationships.
Yeah. Well, and
Those
I
are my
think too, what?
those are my thoughts.
No, absolutely. And I think too, the biggest thing to take away from that is if you are someone who does that, self-love is not just something to work on. On top of that, thinking about why do I do that? We're really big on curiosity. And, I know it probably sounds weird, like thinking about why I think certain things. It sounds kind of meta, but it is really the first step to healing and, catching yourself in thought patterns that are toxic, and, ways you might be presenting yourself or talking about yourself, to others in public situations. So
Yes.
that's
And
huge.
another act of self-love, and this is for women especially, is when somebody compliments you, we tend to, like, what's the word I think I'm looking for? Kind of like,
I feel like there's a number of things people do. We almost
yeah,
say, this is from, Walmart or,
we
whatever.
default to making it, I don't know, less than. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So the practice with that, and this is something I picked up from a book I read called The Reclaimed Woman, by Dr. Kelly Brogan. Great book. And also another book, Laura Doyle, The Surrendered Wife, um, is, even if you don't believe it, even if you want to say 100 other things like, oh, this old thing, or like, oh, my hair, oh, it's just totally acting up today, like, you just say thank you and move on.
Yeah.
It is a practice because you are going to fight against everything, all the programming that's hardwired in you, especially as women, to just simply accept the compliment and move on.
Mm-hmm. Learn
Because
to
when
take
somebody
compliments.
takes the time to genuinely compliment you and you either deny it or you kind of like spin it into something negative, you just took away that person's gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Fair
again,
point.
if you are foreign to this and new to this, people tend to think like, oh, well, then isn't that an act, to not, genuinely say, thank you and accepting that compliment. I'm like, yeah, think about most things you start off with that you're foreign to. Is
Mm-hmm.
it really coming from this place of like, yeah, it's
Right.
more than likely like, ugh, this is uncomfortable and
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I was listening to these two girls on a podcast and they were telling me to just say freaking thank you and move on. So thank you very much. Can we go and get our coffee? So I know it's because it's unnatural at first, but it is a skill set to build, to
It,
practice,
yeah, it's like working out. It
like
does
working
not feel
out.
natural to start lifting weights. If you have not really lifted weights in a while or ever,
Yep.
it does not feel natural to run. If you are building up endurance to run, it is a skill. And that's okay. It's okay to even not feel it in the moment. It's fake it till you make it kind of stuff. And that's all right. Great
Yeah.
call out. Number three of our four homework things to take away from this on how to fall in love with yourself, how to really just start living a life where you are practicing self-love. And this kind of goes a little bit hand in hand with what we just said about catching yourself in negative self-talk patterns. But this one is diving deeper into that. And this is talk to yourself like a close friend. So why this works? Well, along the same lines of our last one, how words can be so powerful. So how do you try this? I've got a few tactics that you can try to put into play in your everyday life. One that I've done before, actually, in the past, in different seasons in life, and I may start doing it again just because I like it. Um, go to Target or just go to your kitchen drawer. You probably already have this. All supplies are already in your home, I imagine. Get some sticky notes. Write positive words of affirmation to yourself and put those notes in special places. If you were like me, at a period of life, I had sticky notes on my bathroom mirror so I could see them when I was getting ready for work or getting ready to just anything. Or just, hey, I gotta go in the bathroom. Oh, look at this beautiful little message I'd written to myself. It's something fun. It's very easy. And listen, if you're really struggling for things to say, Pinterest has a lot of great little words of affirmation, little quotes and things like that, and it can be fun to kind of dive into that. On top of that, another way to do this, and something that's near and dear to my heart, I know people who've done this before, and I love it. Find a picture of yourself from when you were little, okay? Take that picture, tape it somewhere or frame it or whatever. Put it in your wallet, maybe your purse, something like that. Put it somewhere you're gonna see it. Whether you want others to see it or you want it to just be more of a personal thing that is, just for you, that's okay. Maybe you, gonna sound weird, guys. Maybe you put it in your, I don't know, bag that you take to work. Maybe you put it in like a folder that only you see, and you see it on hard days, okay? If your work life is stressful, whatever it might be, it's something that you're gonna see, okay? And I want you to look at that picture of yourself. It's gonna feel kind of silly, but I want you to look at that picture of yourself. And I want you to, whether it's verbally or in your mind, or maybe you write it down, I want you to come up with things that you would say to that little girl. Maybe knowing what you know now in life. Maybe just knowing the love that little girl maybe didn't get in a certain way. Talk to that little girl like a close friend, like someone nurturing. Because that's what self-love is really all about, guys, is nurturing yourself. And why do so many of us struggle with self-love? Well, spoiler alert, it's because a lot of us have a lot of crap from when we were little that we have carried with us consciously or subconsciously. And Virginia is huge, as am I, on healing your inner child, which is a whole other topic that I would love to cover in another episode. I'm sure we could make a series of it. But it's a beautiful way to really get in touch with yourself and start being more compassionate. The words we say to ourselves, about ourselves, in our minds, they matter, and they definitely dictate our self-love, for sure, and our self-worth. So
That's beautiful.
And then the last one we've got on our list here is number 4. Create a life that reflects your values, not your expectations. And Virginia, in the past episodes we've had, I love this. You have often said, and I think you even said it earlier, if I'm not mistaken, find your why, find your purpose, okay? So, we have talked in previous episodes about how living a life that's built upon ideals or expectations is not going to serve you. Most likely, you will be set up for disappointment. That's not to say don't go after what you want. Of course do that. But living a life that is maybe engraved in your mind as I should do this because everybody else has this, or because my parents expect me to, or because I just feel like if I don't do it, I'm not going to be worthy. Living that kind of life only sets you up for disappointment. Um, and it's really hard to achieve self love when you're disappointed in yourself every single day and you don't feel like there is quality in your everyday life and you're chasing after things that don't mean a damn thing to you. So instead, um, let's flip the script here and let's think about what really matters to you. Okay, this is why this works, because when you focus on what you feel strongly about, what are your deal breakers, what are your passions, when you embrace those things, and I'm not here to say do it all day long, because sure, we all have things we have to do that, being an adult in the real world, sometimes you gotta do shit you don't want to do. Okay,
Mhm.
uh, that's also very true. But finding and carving out space and time to focus on those things and make them part of your everyday life, or even weekly life, but I think you get what I'm saying. That will totally help you on the journey to falling in love with yourself. Plus, I'm just going to throw it out there. When was the last time that, Virginia, that you saw someone who was talking about something that they love or doing something that they totally just enjoy and they just didn't have this aura around them, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
people are drawn to you when
Mhm.
you are carving out a life that is about your values, your passions, who you are to your core. It is like the universe is just like, wow, we got to channel in on this girl and we
Yes,
got to we got to really give her the green light. All right, put the spotlight on her. A lot of good
yes.
things are going to come her way. So how do you try this? Because it sounds great. What do you do? Well, so this weekend, I challenge you to make a list of the things that make you you. Okay, um, not just things like my kids, my partner, my job. Like those things are all very relevant, beautiful, exceptional things, but they are not you. They are parts of you, and that's absolutely wonderful. But they're not you to your core.
Yeah.
So when we're making this list, girls, make a list of your interests, things you can't stand, right? We're not going to include those in these values, okay? Let's talk about, or let's make a list about strengths, hobbies, your deep desires, things that are core values that you have in life. Okay. You can make this list this weekend and just put it away for a while. If you need to take a break, if it gets too heavy, that's fine. Or if you really just want to dive into it, take that list, look at it, and then I want you to brainstorm activities, new hobbies you might maybe be able to incorporate, future plans, ways that you can take those things that really hit home with you in a positive and healthy way, okay? And make them a priority in your life, because in making them a priority, you're making yourself a priority. That's how this works. So, an example that I will throw out, it's probably no surprise if you've listened to past episodes of ours, but my faith is important to me, okay? And I'm not saying, you've got to jump on that bandwagon. You have to listen to what you believe in and your values. But if you're me, or if you're like me, this is what worked for me. So, for years, I was going through quite a time in life where I just did not really focus on it. I did not prioritize that. Or if I did, it was like a bottom of the barrel, then I'll get to it type of thing. And I realized I was feeling quite disconnected in life. I wasn't feeling a lot of purpose. I wasn't feeling a lot of quality, and something felt like it was missing. And about 5 or 6 years ago, something happened in me where it just, I don't know, I just kind of had this awakening and got back into it. And doing that, making time, carving out time for that thing really has enhanced my life in ways that I can't even put into words because it's been so powerful. There are so many other ways to do this, though. If you were born with a God-given talent, and you've been just kind of denying yourself the time, or you just think, oh yeah, I love doing that, but I don't have it in me right now, or I don't, I got such a busy schedule, whatever. Listen, I understand. I'm not here to say that, you're not busy, or that life doesn't have other things coming up, but I challenge you to really, really make that an active choice that you are going to get back to it. Maybe it's not every day, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's every few weeks, whatever, however it looks like. But once you are doing that, you are actively giving back to yourself. You are watering. It sounds corny, but you are watering your pot, if you will, and growing. You will bloom. It's as hallmarky as it sounds. Like, these are things that genuinely make you to your core. And
Hmm.
I'll also say too, in making the list that I just mentioned, you may have some hard truths to face, okay? It may be that a lot of things come up that are on your list, and then you look at your life right now and you're like, well, damn. Um, yeah, everyday life, or even bi-weekly life, whatever, doesn't look like this at all to me. I'm living in the complete wrong place. I don't want to be here. I always have had this dream of being here. Or this job I've got, nope, not it. Maybe it's even deeper than that. Maybe it's a relationship thing. Maybe it is a friendship thing. Maybe you are finding yourselves around people who are technically your community. We've talked about this in our episode on friendships in adulthood. Maybe they are really not serving you, and when you're around them, they are sucking the life out of your values, your passions, maybe you are finding that you're having to make yourself small or become a different you that is not genuine, that is hurting you to your core. You may have some things that you need to have a little self check in with yourself. And I'm not saying, oh, change it all overnight, quit your job, leave your partner, move, do this, do that, because guess what? We know it doesn't work that way, and that's okay. But definitely, this could be a very deep activity to do. And if you're not ready for it now, that's okay. Only you will know when you are ready. You may try it tomorrow and find, oh crap, this was not the right time. That's fine. We're talking about giving ourselves grace here, okay? Not being harder on ourselves, not diving into every little thing because we have to do it right now. That's not at all. But this is homework. Maybe it's homework for this weekend. Maybe it's homework for later this year. Who knows? Only you can decide that. But I hope you understand the assignment, ladies, because
So,
we want to hear about it. We always put our contact details in our show notes and everything. We would love to hear how you are finding self love. I'm sure there are many other practices that we haven't covered in this episode that, Virginia and I, we're definitely not the perfectionists or perfect at this either. No one is. That's the point. So maybe you have ideas you can share with us that we can incorporate too. This is a three-way, multiple-way conversation. I was going to say two-way, but that's not the thing. So this is a conversation. This is not just us talking at you. We want to hear your stuff too, because you matter. Your journey is why we're here. And we're just so grateful that you're with us on this journey, because here's the thing. Guess what? A bonus way of practicing self-love, learning how to do this, practicing it, all the things, listening to this episode. Okay? give yourself a little pat on the back because maybe you don't want to try right. Maybe you don't want to, Virginia just patted her back in case you're her shoulder in case you're listening and not watching. Maybe you're not ready to try these things yet. That's okay. You've actually shown up for this. That's pretty cool. That's pretty damn cool. So I've got a lot of thoughts, as I frequently do. Okay, and Virginia does too. That's why we are called the Talking Blondes. We typically have a lot to say, but it's because we are passionate because these are a lot of values that we share and we believe into our core. Um, and I will say too, on a final note, of course, Virginia, if you have final notes, I'm here for it too. My final note to share is that self love isn't about reinventing yourself. Self love is about learning how to stop abandoning yourself. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
with all of that in mind, I just want to thank you all for listening. Um, Virginia, any thoughts? Any life coach tidbits?
That alone, I think, was wonderful to leave off at because that made me instantly think of doing an episode on just self abandonment alone.
Yeah.
So that was fantastic. And myself and hopefully the viewers were very grateful, Caitlin, how prepared you came for this episode, all the research, very in depth, and so appreciate the homework assignment and the tangible, practical ways of practicing more self love and self worth in our day to day life. So thank you so much. This was a wonderful episode. We hope for our viewers and our community it benefited you as well. And like Caitlin was saying, um, if you end up doing the homework assignment, if you know, and you want to let us know, please do. But again, like this is just something you can tell that totally came from a place of self love. So we really appreciate you all tuning in today.
Absolutely. Thank you also, Virginia, for showing up like you always do, for being you. We love it. We love to see it. We love our Virginia, right? And I just want to say if this episode resonated with you, whether you're a first timer listener or you've been with us from the beginning, whatever it might be, if this hit, we would be honored if you would share it with a friend. We would be completely floored and delighted if you would follow us on Instagram at Talking Blondes Pod, as well as YouTube at Talking Blondes. And absolutely, like, give us your thoughts on how self love's going for you. If you try this homework, let us know how it goes. If you've got other ideas, let us know how that goes. And do not miss Virginia's guest spot in the podcast that she mentioned earlier. We will absolutely be linking that in our show notes as well. So we love the idea of that self-abandonment episode. I think we're going to be revisiting some of this at a later date, so stay tuned for that. And thank you so much. Again, you can. I say this every time, that's why I said again. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, as I mentioned, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. Please give us a follow if you haven't already. And we look forward to chatting with you again soon and hearing from you, hearing your feedback, hearing how your journey's going. And thank you so much for showing up because you're showing up for yourself, and that is the best way to have self-love. So kudos to you and take care, everyone. Until next time, we so appreciate you and you matter.
We'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.
Bye.